Hi, everyone. Today is Thursday, February 23rd of 2023. So it's the 23rd of 23.
Oh, I wanted to talk about this. This is kind of interesting. Coinbase has got basically they're running a version of Ethereum. It's based upon an L2 of Optimism. It's tokenless, but they're going to use this for all sorts of apps and dApps over there on Coinbase. So this is kind of unique. This is not the first time we've seen kind of private blockchains split off from either the Ethereum layer 2s or right off of Ethereum. But this is kind of cool. And this could lead the way for other enterprises getting the idea that, they could run an intercompany or multiple company blockchain to just service them. So kind of interesting. What do you think about this? I was glad they chose Optimism. Optimism's been doing really well. It's one of my preferred L2s. I like Arbitrum, but there's no token for Arbitrum yet. But man, Arbitrum's really doing well. But I'm just kind of curious what you think.
I think that this is very similar to what we'll see other companies doing as well, where I mentioned that I didn't see companies actually, we've seen them try to hire people to create things for them on the blockchain, but they do much better just to go out there and take something that's already been created. And this seems to be the way to go, even with me moving over to my website soon. And for those people who haven't signed up yet, I just did my newsletter release on Monday, my quarterly. So that's the only way you can get that is if you go to my website, SamanthaJaneJames.com. And We're taking right out of the box the Discord. So we're not creating our own chat or Slack channel or anything like that. We're just using the Discord. And I thought about that and I said, that's very similar to the blockchain, where a company like Coinbase will just go and take Ethereum, will use something that's already been created. And that's why what we're holding is so valuable. Now, we don't know, actually to what level, because things will reflect value differently and at different times. But this is just, again, par for the course. And I don't think it's a question anymore about whether or not blockchain is going to survive. It's really just a question of which ones are going to be adopted in the biggest way.
Yeah, for sure. Saw that there was some movement on the Ripple case as well. It looks like John Deaton mentioned that Ripple could pay something like $250 million and probably just walk away from the case, something like that. That news came out yesterday. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and that would go right along with what I said. I didn't say that they would be found like not guilty, but that a fine would be worked out. And because there was no way that the Securities and Exchange Commission was going to let them walk away with no fine, because the SEC has to save face, especially after what they did to XRP and Ripple. And I'm not saying that they didn't have any right to examine. I didn't look at the records of the founders. I know they had an issue with, them as well individually. Yeah. And, so I don't want to wade into that because I didn't look at it closely enough to really give an opinion, except to say that I feel that's what's going to happen. I feel it's going to happen shortly. Someone asked me what my date for March was. I said March 18th. So I'm wondering if that will be the XRP date, because again, it's always something that's in our wheelhouse, either something to do with cryptos or, the war coming to an end, something big like that.
Well, good. I thought those were some interesting things that just kind of popped up over the last few days. There's a few more too, but let's go ahead and let me just stop sharing here. And we'll go ahead and get to the questions. Go ahead and put your questions in, you guys. Please don't upvote once we get started, because I get really I'll get confused. I'll get out of order. Oh, I wanted to talk about this Moraviers thing. Moraviers is mentioning also that SEC, the SEC, just got a win declaring NBA Top Shots NFTs as securities. And this opens the door wide open for potentially more NFTs being labeled as securities. Just any thought about that, Sam, as we see NFTs just continuing to proliferate and even gain more functionality? But
Well, I'm not surprised about the securities, because they are sold as investments. They have been sold as investments. They probably will have to write something out for people who, for example, do airdrops to their customers for, I could give out NFTs for meetups or, sell them for meetups or like tickets, right?
Sure.
So they're not securities. A person is not necessarily buying it to make money on it. They're buying it for access. So, that would be my pushback to them would be, well, why would I have to do a prospectus? This is not an investment. Right. This is something people are buying, and then they keep it so that, even if I'm not doing readings, like 3 years from now, if they pull out one of those NFTs, oh well, I guess I'm doing a reading, right? You know.
I love it. Let me go ahead and just pull up some questions here. This first one's from Tanya Oz with 19 votes. Top rated question here. Hello. In a recent Raoul Pal interview on Altcoin Daily, Paul mentioned Cardano. It's got an amazing community, but it's lacking on vibrancy of projects that are coming to market and that are creating things that people are engaged in. He went on to say they don't yet have the breakthrough in use cases. Will Cardano soon have this breakthrough? And what do you still see it when? And do you still see it over $100? Thank you.
Well, I mean, I knew that it was going to be at least $10 for sure. And then I saw that it would probably be 100 plus, you know, for the long term. My sell price for most of my Cardano is $10 because, I mean, when you think about the price you bought it at, that's my choice to do that. I don't disagree with Raoul Pal. I'm not saying that they won't have anything come out on it, and all they would need is that one win, and then it would just go nuts. But as far as community support, that was one of the things on my list from 4 years ago as to which cryptos would survive. And one of the things that would be important would be, you know, having a following. And Cardano has proven that it has a following. People are staking it. You know, would I keep Cardano for, you know, 5 or 10 years? No. But, you know, I bought my first Cardano at 2 cents and it's gone as high as almost $3. So, you know, I see what I see when I see something going up in value. So I think that there's a lot of other good projects out there. I think that, you know, if people don't want to get out of cryptos and with their profits in Cardano, I think that they should take out profits and roll it into another cryptocurrency and support it. You know, that's my thoughts on Cardano. Because remember, that was my very first one from the Q Lab. Well, not my very first one, but it was one of the first ones that I had for the Q Labs, that it's been tried and true, and it did end up being hugely adopted, and you know, and that's part of the grand experiment, us figuring out, like, what does it mean when I see these things? And the story of Cardano is not over yet. But I just don't mind sharing with you guys, you know, what I think of it and what my plans are. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff available now that wasn't available back then.
Exactly. You know? Exactly. Yeah, I feel like back in the day, you know, it was kind of unique what it did. And these days, not maybe so much. The tough thing for me is being a blockchain professional, somebody that's built and tested and broken blockchains, right? Man, you know, we're 6 years into this ADA experiment, and there's still really nothing to do. So it's kind of boring. Where I can go out in many networks and blockchains and do all sorts of things, build things and break things and play with things. So, you know, for people like me, we go where there's stuff to do. We take the bus over to the side of town or whatever, where there's actual stuff to do. So, you know, this is probably a long game. I think there will be niche for it. I think there'll be lots of niches for lots of blockchains and a lot of different technologies that will fit in and plug in all over the world, doing all sorts of things. But yeah, I'm just kind of bored. And I think there's a lot of people like me that are just bored. Like to see a little bit more out of that project than we have. And for 6 years, they should have a little bit more to show for it, but they go slow. So whatever.
Hi, guys. What would be the coins you might recommend for someone coming into the market today? And I was going to ask you, I was going to say, because that kind of leads off of what I said about, oh, well, Cardano is one of the originals. You know, today there's a lot of projects that, you know, when you're taking profits out, you want to move into those. What would you say are the top ones today that you would move into if a new person came to you, MooAnt, and said, you know, I got $10,000, I can afford to lose it, I don't need it any time in particular, I want to get into this crypto thing, and I kind of want to mix, you know, the tried and true. So we already know you're going to say Ethereum, right? So you're going to tell them buy Ethereum. What are some of the other things that you would
Well, and I would say things that connect to the Ethereum ecosystem. I mean, to discount, you know, I hope people took part in DeFi, the several runs of DeFi we've had. Are we going to get another run of that? I hope so. But you know, the L2s are wonderful technologies. Your Polygon is a wonderful technology. Your Optimism is a wonderful technology. Your Arbitrum is a wonderful technology. People can go out and play with these networks, and as long as they're interacting with the networks, they can probably be guaranteed tokens. A lot of it's just got a second round of optimism airdrops, right? And if people are messing around on the Arbitrum network, they're probably going to get some pretty interesting Arbitrum airdrops. So it's not even like they have to buy anything. They have to just get out there and use it and get familiar with it. So my favorites are typically the same. Ethereum, layer 2 surrounding Ethereum. I like some components of like Solana. Really like Chainlink. Chainlink is just wonderful what it does. Yeah, I could go on and on. Polygon. So it's really always the same stuff. You know?
Okay.
Always
All right. I was wondering if you had changed any since that you added Solana to it. And
Solana got so cheap, it was just a no-brainer.
Yeah, I know.
Right? I mean, we already had some, but
yeah, that was a good call, wasn't it? The Solana, no, nothing's going to happen to it because they do the screaming and the hollering pretty loud, like they scare people.
Yeah.
And then people come to me, and I'm like, no, man, this is going nowhere. And you had just seen the video with the two founders and an interview, which I don't think that was a coincidence either.
No. No. Yeah, they're geniuses. I think they do a great job. I think there's viable technology there. So you know, there's kind of so many, but it's like you and I have played the game too, where we've been in 50 projects, right? And sometimes it's unmanageable, especially if you like to get out there and use these things. You know, it's too many. But yeah. Okay, so I'll go back to the questions. I probably got upvoted, or I'm just silly.
Okay, I think Cynthia is the next one. Okay. Do you have that one?
Yep.
15 votes. Okay.
Cynthia says, "Hey Sam and Moo, how do you see the U.S. financial system looking a year from now? Example: real estate, Social Security, banks, cryptos."
Oh, those are big money questions, huh? Yeah, a year from now. I was thinking about that too. I was like, wow, once my videos get out, no wonder I'm going to have to be in hiding because all these big money people are going to be tracking me down. Okay, tell us, what can we expect for the next? I'm just having fun with you, Cynthia. That's what I was thinking this morning about, you know, getting the nuances of it because it's kind of cool how I've been able to translate it a year from now. Real estate.
We'll get a lot more of these questions in mainstream media, right? You got Goldman Sachs calling for a huge stock market crash this year. You got a lot of people starting to get people very worried about the economy and attached economies and things this year, you know, and next year. So.
Oh yeah, and I mean, make no mistake. I mean, the world is in trouble. I mean, we as human beings, we've created a colossal mess for ourselves, and it's not through climate change. You know, someone coming and burning your house down and taking your stuff is far more likely to happen to you than a hurricane or a flood coming to get you. Because what's happening now is we're seeing the slow burn on the outside. Now, the U.S. financial system looks really good to me. And it's because the financial systems, the money all over the world is being sacrificed at the altar of stupidity and greed. And again, people not looking after those they should be looking after. If you are in finance and you're in government, you know, you're responsible. Like you need to look after these people who are just going off to their job, laying bricks and driving the bus and, you know, feeding the meals to the kids in the cafeteria. And like they were relying on these and they just were robbed blind. So U.S. system is going to be strong because the money is going to be flowing into the U.S. because the U.S. has the biggest set of guns in the world. And that's what it comes down to. Like if you're fleeing for safety, where are you going to go? You're going to go to your neighbor's house who has the most guns and will use them. So that's why the money's going to flow here. And that's really the number one reason because a company like somebody can ship stuff out of their factory without having it stolen. You know, two miles down the road. Real estate, well, it really depends. Like, don't go into those states that are creating these loser policies. You know, so all somebody has to do is hold up their hand and lie about having a mental disability or illness or something by faking something. And then they're going to get a check for $1,200 a month US from the local government. And that's from the taxpayers, from the property tax. I mean, you know, just stay away from those places with those banana policies, like get away from them, like quickly, like go to the states like Florida and Texas and Which one in Carolina is not insane? Or is there a place in Virginia that isn't insane? Like, even when I was in Texas, I was checking the difference between the tax base for Dallas versus Fort Worth, and it was a huge difference with what you owed in pensions and that kind of stuff. So there's been a lot of lunacy going on in the world. And so you're secure in the US, but I would not buy property like, Michigan, like sell your stuff. Somebody wanted to get a place in Maryland in 4 years. And I was like, if you want to do that, go right ahead. But I'm not doing that. I'm not buying anything. I'm taking some money over into the US shortly and probably buying some farmland or something. But I'll tell you, it's not going to be in any of those states that they've got these loser policies. Like, let them sit in it, right? Eventually the poop gets high enough and then they got to move out, right? That's what they say. When the poop gets high enough, they move out. So yeah, just do your research. Social Security, I don't really know about that. I mean, the next year, inflation's going to eat it up. They need inflation. The banks, I know they're giving lots of scares about the banks, but why do you have to crash the banks or do a bail-in when you're just gonna make money off the backs of your peasantry by doing inflation, right? Why do the banks don't have to collapse? They don't have to do anything. They just have to, kill everybody's savings in the bank through inflation. And cryptos, of course, are going to go up. Now there is going to be a big crash coming, but I'm going to go back to my blab that says you would be surprised how long they can keep this going. And that was from back in 2020. And I'm going to say 4 years. I'm going to say 2024. And I think that's where a lot of people are going to lose out because they're going to hold on to their money. Whereas with us, like, we're all in because we knew it was going up. So we're not on the sidelines with holding on to our bags. We've been riding this wave up, right? So all I would say to you is I don't know exactly when it's going to happen. So just make sure you take your profits. In the blab, I told folks you would have a chance to take profits again. And that was in 2022 when people were feeling pretty down because it had been a few months since we had hit the all-time high in November of 2021. And I felt, okay, yeah, we're going to have another chance to do that. And I feel like we're there now. So just make sure you take your profits this time because, when the stock market like crashes, it's going to be pretty devastating, like worldwide. So it's going to be really scary. And also you'd kick yourself if you weren't out of your cryptos because you'd be like, oh my God, I could really go shopping now. Yeah. So just think about that. Think about missing out on that. So when you're like, oh, I might miss out on that. No, you might miss out when it on the backside because we know the waves all have that backside. Like, we've all been around long enough. And the newer people, we're telling you the stories. Yeah, that wave on the backside, it happens. And then you go down and then you watch yourself out and then you go back up. And yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of just view cryptos and cash and gold and things like this. They're just necessities. I think people are going to need all these sorts of things. I think we're moving into really scary times. And, there's places I think you'd want to be and places I think you'd want your money and places that I don't think you'd want your money. And if you can have less debt, I think that's the way to go. So I think it's just kind of about protection. I don't think there's one asset class that rules them all. I think the road's going to be choppy and you're going to need a little bit of all of this kind of stuff is what I think. So I hope, the thought of it being choppy in the future, I hope it doesn't keep people away from things like cryptos, because I think cryptos are very easy to move around and it's very easy for you to flee with. And you can literally just memorize some words and move your little butt wherever you'd like to go,
I think South Africa is going to be hitting the bricks again. And when you think about it, well, cash in the bank. Well, who wants a South African rand when people is that what it's called, the rand? When people are just burning stuff down and the country's in peril and stealing stuff out of the manufacturing plants, the big equipment, selling it off. It just, the entire country gets stripped by robbers, right? And you need to make a run for it. You can't bring your gold and silver because it's too heavy. Believe me, I started selling mine off when I left the country because I couldn't take it all down with me. Right. So it's like, okay,
there's only so much you can, only so much physical you can have, right?
But guess what I did take with me?
What's up?
Cryptos.
Arcane Voodoo's got one here. With everyone's focus on a very much wanted and anticipated summer of Doge, we have kind of forgotten about some of our red-headed stepchildren like VET and VVS Finance. What say you both about these two orphans in the shadow? Inquiring minds want to know.
Vet had a big run, and I had a blab about it, that it was time for Vet to move, and Vet heard me and went up like 25% on the last little run. I'm looking to see if it has corrected back very much yet, because I hadn't checked on it. That would be the norm for something to run really fast like that. Because, people asking me like what to buy, like, oh, what should I buy and stuff. And I kind of look through the list. I'm like, well, what hasn't run yet? What has been quieter, what's been sitting there and waiting. And, and VeChain is, now it's over 3 cents, which is great, because it was it was like around 1.9 cent for like the longest time, 2 cents. And now it's up 50% from that, just like that. So maybe you missed that, Arcane Voodoo, that, VeChain took its turn. And VVS Finance, I mean, like MooAnt said, DeFi. It's time for DeFi to start moving soon. So get ready.
Arcane Voodoo, I don't have any of that stuff. I don't have VET. I don't have VVS Finance. What it looks like to me is running this reminds me of like April or March of 2019. So we're seeing a lot of Asian money now flow in. Hong Kong got basically in China, they can run these different provinces and places with different rules. There is no rule of law for the whole quote unquote country. So they can operate these different provinces with different sets of rules. And looks like they're just going to let Hong Kong just run wild with cryptos. It's bringing a lot of things in. And it also gives them a way to monitor some of the crypto stuff coming in and going out. So it reminds me very much like March of 2019, and we're seeing a lot of Asian coins run. We saw that is an Asian coin. We saw CoinFlux. CoinFlux is up 896% in the last 30 days. I mean, Alchemy Pay is up, 306% in 30 days. Neo went on a crazy run. So all the Asian type stuff is taking off. There's a lot of development, like Polkadot, for example. A lot of the Polkadot development is done in Asia. This also had a nice run, or just the last couple of weeks. So that's what I would say. That's what I'm seeing. Is I'm just seeing these coins, and when I like Polkadot, and I like some of the other things that we're talking about, but like I don't like Neo at all. There's nothing to do on Neo, but Neo, I mean, got a huge pump as well. So all these things are not equal, but pretty much anything with any Chinese use case or Chinese investment or Chinese money, basically it got a huge pump over the last 30 days. Look, here's a Neo. It's, up 60%, almost 61%. And it was higher than that. But anyway, in the last 30 days. So that's what I think is going on there. And this is normal. We've seen this rotation before. So, sometimes when there's Western contraction, there's Asian expansion, is what I like to say. Rosanna's got one here. Hey, Sam and Moo, VTHO token, VTHO, which is the gas for VET, is currently around 0.002 AUD. How high do you see this going? Thanks.
I would say like to about, it would be more than a penny. My jump off for that is like half a penny. What's the all-time high for the VTHO? Do you know?
I can look it up real quick. Yeah, let me take a look.
Yeah, what's its all-time high?
Have I been sharing the right screen here?
No, you haven't.
Oh no! Are you serious?
You just had your Google screen. That's all. Just like Google.
I am sorry about that.
That's all right. You were talking. I didn't want to interrupt you. And then
just kick me in the knees next time. VTHO. So all those charts and fancy graphs and everything I was pulling up were useless. So all-time high was looks like 4 cents.
Oh, geez. Okay. Yeah.
0.46. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do I see it going? Well, in this run, I think 1 cent. Yeah.
Okay. And you can see this, right? You saw the V. I've got some different setups here going on in this room. You did see like a CoinGecko up when I just shared that, right, Sam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Solar Dragon says, hey, Sam and Moo, if you could only hold 5 coins or tokens right now,
what would they be? And why?
Yeah, what would they be? And what? Thank you. Much love.
Geez, if I could only hold 5. Well, I mean, I'd have Ethereum and Matic on that list, of course. My faves, Doge. Let's see. What else? Reef, because I got to have my flyer in there. It's no fun without the flyer. And Polkadot.
Geez, mine's a lot like that. I would have ETHmatic Link. What else would I have? I'd probably want a payment coin of some sort. So something that's just kind of purely transactional. So
Like Doge.
Bitcoin. Yep, like Doge. You
Doge.
just can't handle the volume. The throughput is the problem. So something like Bitcoin or Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, or Doge. XLM is a pretty fast transactional coin.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then for a flyer, gosh, I don't know. I'd probably just go DOT. I wouldn't even call DOT a flyer. DOT's a blue chip in my mind. So I would just say DOT from the other one. Tim says, hey, Sam, if you had a spare 10K to invest today, may I ask, excluding ETH, I have 32 as my main bag. What else would you buy? I may have them already, but I am just curious of your thoughts. I added the graph to my portfolio in November 22 from a similar question, and it's been great.
Well, Sandbox, I just added that one recently. And one that I didn't add, but that I would have liked to. But again, I got to limit how much I hold. And the other one was Algorand. And I would encourage people to use Arbitrum so that they could, be a part of the airdrop.
Me too.
Because I don't know if they're having one or not, but I think they will. Because that was one if you'd like to hold the token for it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think just being out there participating in the network, and if people want to take a look at that, you can simply just go over to, I don't know, we can probably just go to ecosystems. Yeah. So if you go over and take a look at the Arbitrum ecosystems, you can use any of these apps and things over on the Arbitrum network. You can use Loopring on Arbitrum. I'm a big fan of, what do I like? Stargate is kind of interesting. Tracer DAO. Tracer is very, very interesting. But Tracer just got rebranded to Mycelium. But yeah, I like some of these over on GMX. It's another one you can use on Arbitrum. So a lot of these span multiple other L2s, but a lot of them you can use on the Arbitrum network is what I would say. Just give me 1 second. Barton Tom says, hey, what are the three best QLabs to buy this February? Thank you, Sam.
Well, I think that Polkadot is still a good price, and so is Chainlink as far as price. And I think that Ethereum will be set to move again soon. So that'll be like another, not 10 times now, up to, I think it's going to run to 12,000 before the end of the year, Ethereum. We're going to see the flippening this year. We see it. It's going to happen. People are more interested in buying stuff that is off of Ethereum and participating in that whole ecosystem, and they don't want to get left behind again. Because Bitcoin didn't even make it to 100,000 yet, and it's gone all the way down. And there's all of these other cryptos that once again, first time shame on them, and second time shame on you. If you're listening to the maxis, and you're going to miss out if you're listening to the maxis. Again, I want to take a moment just to tell folks, do some research. Don't listen to some talking heads on YouTube. Our job here is just to share with you our ideas, opinions, and point you in directions so that you can get some information from folks who aren't trying to sell you something.
Next one I see is from Chris. Hey, yeah. Sam and Moo. Okay. Hey, Sam and Moo, what are the highest prices you are seeing this year for XLM and Phantom?
For this year? Well, probably for XLM this year, maybe $1.50.
Okay.
Right. And then into the dollars and teens, later on, there's what I see sort of closer to now. And then there's what's way down the road. So, yeah. And Phantom, I'm not completely sure about Phantom. I think that'll be around $7, something like that. $7. Yeah.
All right. Just give me 1 second.
My guess.
And then, what's that?
That would be my guess. I'm going to guess because they're asking me specifics. I'm like, okay, well, it's part of the grand experiment. Let's have some fun with it.
Yes. I know Andre's back on the team, kicking some ass, and from what I understand, is that his time will be pulled in less directions than it was before. So he's anxious to be building over there full time. So that's good news for that project. He's a smart guy. Craig, hey, Craig says, hello, Sam and Moo. You guys, can you guys take a guess on what coins not stable you see in the top 10 in 3 to 5 years?
Okay. So in 3 to 5 years, well, the number one coin has not been created yet. So I can't fill in that space. I would say top 10. What else would still be there? I think Link, Matic, and Ethereum will still be there. Cardano and Doge. Yeah, those are my picks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that sounds great. I've got no problem with those picks. If we were to go back 5 years ago, the list looks a lot different, right? A lot of these are not in the top 10 anymore.
Oh, and Polkadot too. I forgot to mention Polkadot. We can't forget that. That'll be probably in the top 5.
But the ones Sam mentioned, I'm okay with those. Yeah, I think those are okay. It'll be interesting to see how some of these kind of evolve too. Cosmos could be a very interesting ecosystem. So it'll be kind of interesting to see where that one ends up in 5 years. I'm just kind of scrolling down the list. I think Hedera will actually do well in the future. But I think it might take it more than 5 years. I'm not sure, but I think that actually does okay in the future. But some of these, well, we'll get into that later. But yeah,
everybody's won't even be around.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true.
And that's why I wanted to show the list from 5 years ago. It's, I remember a time when we had WorldCoin and Feathercoin and, Sheepcoin. And,
I remember someone asked me if I thought that Walton Chain would make it or Stellar Lumens.
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, Stellar Lumens all day long, right? And this was
just
somebody. Yeah, I know. And then Walton Chain, it was one of the ones that was delisted, but it was one that I had heard of because someone asked me a long time ago if I, liked Walton Chain. And I was like, oh, no, someone asked me that once about that or Stellar. And I told them, no, Stellar Lumens. And they were arguing with me, no, Walton Chain. But they were from Asia. They were just a student in Canada visiting. Right. And this was years ago, right? Before anyone knew about cryptos, but this person did.
Right.
But obviously they didn't know very much because they thought Walton Chain was awesome. And I was like, no, don't buy that.
Well, remember over the years, all the weird ones we would get like Dragon Chain. Dragon Chain's going to rule them all. Or Holo Chain's going to rule them all.
Oh, Holo. Whatever happened to that one?
I don't even know if it's around, man. I don't know. Let me look.